Prima di tutto voglio
First and
scusare
foremost,
il Presidente
I should like
Siso che
to present the
doveva
apologies of
aprire
the
la
President,
sessione
who should
finale, ma
have
che io dovevo concluderla,
made the inaugural
a,
speech for this
qui a
event, and I
Strasburgo con
was to finish
l'incontro
up
il
in the
Presidente
afternoon,
del
but
Parlamento
he had to
Europeo
go
e ha
off to
avuto
Strasbourg to meet with
difficoltà a arrivare a
members of
tempo a
European
questa nostra
Parliament,
riunione. Mi ha
and thus
chiesto
it was a bit of a
di
problem to come
svolgere
along
i
to the
due
end of the
ruoli.
meeting.
E prima di tutto
And
voglio
so I am
ringraziare
here in
tutti
his
i
stead.
partecipanti, oratori e
I would like to
partecipanti
thank one and all for
che sono
having come along to
intervenuti o non sono
participate in
intervenuti dalla
this
sala
event,
e
both people at the top table
condividere
and
con voi
those who are
alcune
amongst
riflessioni e
the
alcune
audience.
conclusioni che
I would
volendo
like to make a few
svolgere
comments, if you'll
entrambi i
allow,
ruoli.
and then draw
Dicendo anche che
conclusions.
questo seminario si colloca in una
This
iniziativa del
seminar is to be
Comitato
placed
dei
within the
Territori
context of an
sulle
initiative
7
of the
iniziative
Committee of the
faro. Noi
Regions,
abbiamo deciso di fare
one
un
of
7
7
sul
flagship
ruolo di
initiatives.
regioni
We
e
decided
città
to
nelle
focus upon the
iniziative
role of
faro, quello che
regions
stanno
and
facendo,
cities
quello che
in this
potrebbero
flagship
fare
initiative
meglio,
called the
come
Digital
viene
Agenda for
percepita
Europe.
la loro azione dagli altri attori
We wanted to explore
europei,
the way in which other
nazionali e
European,
locali,
national, and
e
local
alla
stakeholders
fine di questi
perceived
7
the role
seminari
of regions and cities
faremo
in
una
regard to promoting the digital agenda for Europe.
sintesi connessa
We
all'all'interno
also
vivo
wanted
della
to
strategia Europa 2020.
take a
Quindi
look
la
at
nostra
these issues
partecipazione
alongside the midterm review
all'intervento
of the
sarà
2020 agenda.
collegata a
In
questi
other words,
seminari
we are
che
going to
ci
link up
servono
with the
proprio per avere
2020
il
agenda
polso della
midterm review,
situazione e portarli
presenting
poi
our
al,
inventory of the role of the regions and
dibattito con le
cities
istituzioni europee,
in
facendo
the
anche
Digital
dei
Agenda for Europe
suggerimenti
initiative.
per
The two go
la
hand in
seconda
hand.
parte, che sarà anche la più importante di
Obviously,
Europa 2020, perché avrà la
Europe
possibilità di
2020
utilizzare la nuova tornata di fondi europei.
is going to
Allora,
play a very
intanto
major role
è stato detto benissimo da chi mi ha
against the backdrop
preceduto, da
of
chi sa
definition
ora
of
da
financial
tutti, che
priorities for funding
le
in
regioni e
future.
gli enti locali
Now,
sono un po' la
I'll state the
piattornale,
obvious.
il perno di una politica
Regions and cities are the
che vuole
fulcrum,
arrivare
are
a
the
investire tutta l'Europa. Se
pole
non c'è la
around which everything
collaborazione
else
delle regioni e delle
revolves.
città,
If cities and
l'agenda
regions are not
digitale potrà
developed
essere un
along the
programma, ma
lines set out by
non
the Digital
diventa una
Agenda for
realtà.
Europe,
E allora io prima
then the
di
Digital
tutto
Agenda for
voglio
Europe will
notare
remain a
che
dead paper,
c'è almeno nelle
a dead
volontà
letter
una
rather.
grande adesione alla necessità di un'agenda
There is
digitale comune europea.
broad
Le regioni e le
consensus
città si
for
rendono
the Digital
conto
Agenda
che
for Europe.
la digitalizzazione è
Thankfully,
qualcosa di
from our point of
trasversale
view
in
in the
tutti i
regions and
settori,
cities, we
e
believe the
quindi se
digital
da un
agenda
lato
has
ci
to be
sono
cross-cutting,
questioni che devono
has
essere
to
risolte a
touch
livello europeo, sono state
upon all
ricordate,
of the
la
subject
banda larga
areas
ultraveloce
addressed
ci deve essere
by
dappertutto, va
sectoral
fatto prima
policies.
di tutto di
It must
investimenti
be embraced
anche
by
in alcuni
everyone.
casi massicci.
And this
In
is very
secondo
important because
luogo,
the
credo che
investments
sia
required for making it a
necessario
reality
abbattere
will
i
be
costi
massive.
fra paesi europei, la battaglia
Obviously,
che
we
noi
have to
condividiamo
ensure that there's a level playing field in terms of
sull'eliminazione del roaming
financing, and
è
we have to avoid any
essenziale,
kind
perché
of
sempre di
financial
più
dumping in the form of excessive roaming
molta
charges, which
parte
might
delle
differ
attività dei
from member state
cittadini
to member
passa
state.
attraverso
We need to
strumenti
ensure that
come i
European
tablet e i
citizens can enjoy
cellulari, gli smartphone, che però
digital
hanno
services in the
questo
form of
gigantesco problema
smartphone,
di costo
IT,
quando si
etc., in a
passa da un
seamless,
paese
smooth
all'altro europeo e
fashion
l'Europa
without
con
cost
tutti i
being
suoi
an
paesi
obstacle.
e con tutte le sue frontiere
And this is a very
rischia di
crucial point,
diventare
taking
un
account of the
costo e di
number
rendere più
of
difficile la
internal
digitalizzazione dei
borders
cittadini, che è
in the
elemento
European Union,
essenziale
which
perché le
are
imprese
meant
possano poi vendere,
to no longer exist.
inventare e vendere dei servizi. Allora, prima di
This
tutto questo,
seamless
che è una
use of
competenza
digital
europea, ma
services
evidente che
will
a livello
allow
dei
European citizens to be
finanziamenti
competitive as
sul
well.
terreno, degli interventi sul
So
terreno,
that
il
leads us on
ruolo
to the
delle
next
regioni è
question.
essenziale,
Given
perché
the
intanto in
digital
tutti i
agenda
grandi
has been
paesi, in tutti i paesi in
defined,
cui
what then is the role of regions? What then is the role of cities in promoting it? We know that certain urban areas have traditionally been very active in absorbing European Union funds through the various European Union funds. 40% of the expenditures which are required for digital investment are covered by the funds. One-third of the costs can be termed as purely economic costs on the national territory. To my mind, in order to ensure that the digital agenda permeates the whole of the economic fabric of the Union and thus promotes growth, as was said by Mr. Nassau. In order to ensure that this objective is pursued and achieved, we must not just reach youth, but also target small and medium enterprises, which to date haven't digitalized. Today, we've heard from representatives from the Commission. They've made reference to the Mayor's Pact in the area of energy as a paradigm from which we could draw inspiration in connection with the digital agenda. That pact addresses brings together all of the mayors around the energy-related questions which are so topical today: energy generation, energy, renewable energies, etc. And this has provided tremendous added benefit for one and all. So, if we were to do the same for the digital agenda, we then would be able to reach more of the final consumers of services which are to be created thanks to the digital agenda and which could be characterized as innovative. Domotics needs to be, or rather will, in any event, be developed thanks to digital technology. And we have to create a link between this innovative technology on the one hand and the world of business on the other. In order to achieve this penetration of technology in the market, and particularly in SMEs, we need to have people who can train. We need to have people who can train up business sectors so that they can best draw benefit from these technologies. Ongoing professional continuous training is the name of the day. That is but one of the many tasks which should be taken up vigorously by regions and cities as they seek to assist all final consumers of these services, be they youth or elderly or in the business world. Now, what do the cities and regions require in order to carry out these tasks? Obviously, they can't do this in a vacuum. They need resources. Basic investments need to be made by the public sector. Investment must be made in training and training trainers. In addition, we need to promote identified best practices. This certainly is one of the spin-off benefits from the digital agenda for Europe. In other words, it's one gigantic brainstorming session and one gigantic ongoing exercise, allowing us to identify what works, what doesn't work, to pull together and to use best practices which will allow the greatest penetration of digital technology in society at large. So as I said, this can be done at regional level, at local level, through networks of businesses. Obviously, it can't be done unless the necessary basic infrastructure exists, nor can it be achieved unless appropriate financial instruments are created, which would in turn assist territorial authorities and SMEs to make the kinds of investments they need to make so as to use digital technology effectively. Public administration in the area of healthcare has pride of place when thinking about where the digital agenda can render service. Public-private partnerships could also be fostered so as to push forward this agenda. Obviously, whenever you talk about healthcare, you're also addressing a host of social issues touching all members of society. This is part of the public interest. And traditionally, these social areas, healthcare and whatnot, are areas which have traditionally been underfunded. So we believe that public-private partnerships coalescing around the needs of this sector could again push forward the digital agenda. So what is needed? You need resources, you need cooperation, you need a vision. And I take the point that was made earlier about startups. They must not be neglected. Neglect them at your peril. The role of regions and cities is vital in promoting the digital agenda, so as to allow proper targeting of resources harnessed to the objective defined. SMEs are predominant in the social and economic fabric of Europe, much more so than elsewhere in the world. So we have to take account of that when thinking about investment strategies. It's not necessary to create a special fund for them, but rather fine-tuned instruments which would derive from existing funds. We also need to equip these people working in startups and small and medium enterprises with the means to train their staff. Obviously, a microenterprise employing only one person couldn't possibly have in-house training services. It would be too costly. It wouldn't make any sense, but they could certainly benefit from a business angel or some sort of external support. A great deal could be done to everyone's advantage in this area. We should also be more involved in the European semester work. That allows for a nice feedback mechanism, helping us understand what works and what doesn't work in the strategies defined. Promoting the digital agenda is a tremendous vehicle for employment creation. It really provides added value. Thus, full development of the digital agenda will automatically have a positive impact upon youth, or rather, creation of employment and youth employment, we believe. As I said earlier, We're working at this, coming at it from many different levels, working at European level, creating activities and services meant to serve the citizenry in specific sectors of the economy. As stakeholders and as representatives of cities and regions, we must all work together toward the same end and continue circulating information as we progress through the agenda. Smart cities are quite topical and are part and parcel of the digital agenda. We attach great importance to this concept of smart cities. The Mayor's Pact around energy believes that added value from investment can be guaranteed if indeed we set as a paradigm and as an objective the creation of smart cities. Insofar as governance is concerned, we believe that the paradigm for governance that we have developed is particularly suited to the digital agenda and its promotion by regions and cities. In other words, there is a hierarchy which can be used when requiring guidance, but there is a great deal of independence enjoyed at each appropriate level of government for implementation. We have developed rather a lot of documentation as preparation for this seminar and the workshops, and it's allowed us to get a better idea of the lay of the land, to have a better idea of what demand exists in the area of digital technology. We're going to draw up a final convention in Greece which will build upon the midterm assessment of progress made with Agenda 2020. And the results emerging from this seminar will feed into that process. This will take account not just of the territorial aspects of the digital agenda, but also the sectoral aspects of it. And this is just a first phase. It's going to have a second phase, and which will link up with implementation of Agenda 2020. What do we need to do in future? I believe that we can build upon work which has already been done. We can enrich our understanding of what needs to be done by comments and submissions from stakeholders. In other words, the results emerging from all the seminars held on this topic will feed into reflection at a European Union level in discussions amongst member states as they push this agenda forward. Thank you.